Hi, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at a new Python script I've come up with called yt-dlp-mpv, which takes separate audio and video streams, uses ffmpeg, and then pipes it into MPV. And the reason for this is because in a previous video I showed you that there's an error with MPV playing YouTube videos with a fragment not found error. And I wrote a script called dash-ffmpeg, which was a shell script. But what I wanted to do was actually convert that code into a Python script. So I had an idea, let's be evil and turn AI against its master. So what I did was get Gemini to create a Python script for me using my dash-ffmpeg shell script. So, as I said, the reason for this is because there's an issue with the latest version of yt-dlp and MPV causing this problem where MPV won't play the videos. So the workaround is actually to get the streams with use ffmpeg and then pipe it into MPV. So without further ado, I'm going to show you the script and how we can set it up and all the options that it has. So what I'm going to do is switch across to the terminal and yt-dlp-mpv-h. And this script has additional features that the original dash-ffmpeg script didn't have. So what I've done is actually set this so that it's got a variety of new options that you can use, as you can see here. So when we run the script with the -h option, it prints out the help, and you can see here, first of all, we have the -i option for the input, which is the URL. We then have the -r option for the resolution, which allows you to specify the resolution of the video you want from the largest to the smallest. We then have a -c option to set the cache, a -f option, which allows you to set which display you want the video to be displayed on. So by default, it's 1, which is going to be if you have a monitor plugged in, it will be displayed on your monitor as opposed to your laptop. If you want to set it to display on your laptop, you use 0. Then the other option we have is the -t option for terminal output. And the reason for this is we want to be able to run the script both in the terminal and from a global hotkey. So what this does is this allows you to specify terminal output, which is the default. So you'll see the controls and the time and the amount of the video that is actually buffered. Or if you're using this with a keyboard shortcut, what you can do is use the -t option with off. So what I'm going to do now is actually show you the script. So what I'm going to do is take a link of Big Buck Bunny, and what I'm going to do is run yt-dlp-i, give it the URL, and it's going to take a couple of seconds to kick in. So what I'm going to do is run this command, switch OBS to the monitor, and show you the output. So it's going to take about 4 or 5 seconds to kick in. Hopefully. There we go. And what I'll do is I'm just going to switch across to the laptop. So you can see here, we have output in the terminal showing you the current playhead position and the amount of the video that has actually been buffered. Let me just switch back here. And there's Big Buck Bunny, and you can see we have the cache here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Q on the keyboard to quit that and switch back to the laptop. And the important thing here is I'm going to run pgrep ffmpeg. And you'll see there's a process here, but that is actually the OBS Studio ffmpeg command running. So what this does is when you press Q on the keyboard, it quits MPV, but it also stops ffmpeg from running when ffmpeg is running, because it's combining a separate audio and video stream and piping it into ffmpeg, you'd actually see two instances, two PIDs for ffmpeg. So let's go through the options then. So what we have here, as I said, is the option, which is the default to show the output in the terminal, as I showed you when I press the keyboard shortcut, when I press return rather. Give it a couple of seconds. Okay, I'm just going to quit that here. And what you'll see here is two numbers. This is the playhead position, and this is the amount of the video that has been buffered. Now, it's not possible to actually get the duration of the video because we're piping the streams with ffmpeg into MPV. So what this will do is basically show you the current position and the amount buffered here, and you can see the cache. You can also see the resolution of the video and the audio here. So what I'm going to do is use the -T option with off, and this is what you would use when you were using the script with a keyboard shortcut. So what I'm just going to do is come across to wlr-which-key. So wlr-which-key is a WL-root application for Wayland on Linux that allows you to create a heads-up display. So when I press Super Z, what you'll see is this little menu come up here. So when I press D, what it's going to do is it's going to run yt-dlp-mpv. What you'll see here is we're giving the full path to the script with the -I option, then WL paste. And what that does is that takes the URL that I have copied to the clipboard and plays it. And we have the -T option with off, so that it's not actually using a terminal, because that wouldn't be required in this situation. So that's how you can use the script from a keyboard shortcut. If you're using X11, I think, I forget what the equivalent command on X11 is to get the is it X-clip? To get the contents of the keyboard, clipboard, sorry, it's late at night. On Mac OS, I'm not sure if it's paste or something like that. And I've no idea what it would be on Windows, because I'm not a Windows user. So that's how we can use the script as a keyboard shortcut. Okay, so let's go through the options again. ytdlp-h. So again, we can specify the resolution here and the cache. So the cache by default is set to 2048. And what you can do is, if you're having issues with playback, you can lower the resolution. So if you're playing at 1080p and, for instance, the audio cuts out before the end, you could use a resolution of 720p, or you could increase the cache from 2048, which is 2 gig, to 4096, which is 4 gig. But obviously that's going to depend on the amount of RAM that you've got on your system. And again, we've got the full screen option here to specify which screen you want this to be displayed of, and the terminal output as well. So this should work on basically everything, Linux, FreeBSD, Mac, and Windows, because it's a Python script. So the requirements for this are, you're going to need Python 3, MPV, and ytdlp installed, which should be installed when you install MPV by default. So let's have another look at another video, just to give you the gist. So let's do Elephant Dream. Okay, so this is another Blender video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the URL, And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the script using the keyboard shortcut. So I'm going to run Super Z, press D. I'll switch across to the monitor here. Give it a second or two. And there we have Elephant Stream. And you can see the cache is filling up. And there's another thing I want to mention. When the documentation is wrong. So MPV's documentation is actually incorrect. Let me just switch back to the laptop here. Okay, so MPV actually has incorrect documentation. So you bastard, come on. Okay, so this is the script. So there is a cache option in MPV, and the documentation will tell you it's got 3 options: on, off, and auto. Yeah. However, that's incorrect. You can actually specify a number. So if I come into the dash-ffmpeg script, what you'll see here is I have cache 2048. And that is the option that we actually want to use, because we're piping the output of the script, output of the streams from ffmpeg using a pipe into MPV. So MPV actually treats it as a file as opposed to a stream. And so we need to use this dash cache option with an integra, 0, 2048, 4096, up and up. Now, there is a sort of demuxer look ahead or read ahead option, but that doesn't actually enable the cache, strangely enough, despite Gemini arguing with me pretty much all day about that issue. So what I'm going to do is actually show you the script that it actually came up with. So the other thing to bear in mind is that this script actually works with the system installed version of ytdlp and MPV. So you don't actually have to kind of install ytdlp with pip or anything like that. So what this script also does is it checks for MP4, M4A, H.264, AAC streams, right? And then if it can't find any, it falls back to WebM, right? I'm not sure if that's correct, actually. I'll have to check this extension. That should be Opus, I would have thought. I'll have to double check that. So if you have any issues with that, let me know. But I've been at this all day and it's late. So what we have next here is how it's actually constructing the ytdlp command. So it's getting the URLs. There's no playlist, so that if you play a video that is part of a playlist, it's not going to go on and play all the other ones. So let me actually take you through and show you sort of my code here. Okay, so this is the equivalent of this code in my original shell script here. So ffmpeg hide banner, video URL, copy, map the streams, use format Matroska, and then create the pipe. Then what we have here is MPV, read from standard in, the cache, full screen, and foreseeable. Okay, and a load of other stuff that basically checks the other options like the resolution and screen, the terminal output, the cache size. We also have input handling. So what happens is when you press Q in ffmpeg, in MPV, it kills MPV and it stops ffmpeg, so that ffmpeg doesn't continue to run after you've quit the video, because that's not what you want. It also handles Control C in the terminal to kill the stream as well. And there's the end of the script there. So as I said, I just thought it'd be interesting to, as I say, turn AI against its master and get it to fix this error, because, as I said, there's an issue that can crop up with MPV, which uses ytdlp in the back end to play YouTube videos, that causes this forbidden 403 error, as well as a fragment not found issue. ytdlp actually can download videos. It will show the error, but then it will kick in and actually complete and download the videos. But MPV craps out. It as soon as it encounters the error, it quits on you. And the issue is intermittent. It happens sometimes. You think it's working, and you go to play a video again, and then you get the error, which is really irritating. So what I wanted was a fallback solution to actually use in case we get that error, and we want to be able to use MPV instead of playing the video in the browser. And the reason why you might want to do that is because typically you'll get lower CPU usage with MPV than you would playing the video with your browser. The other issue that you get with playing the video in the browser a lot of the times is, don't know if this will kick in, it's going to kick in straight away, but sometimes what happens is, especially when you've got uBlock Origin installed to block the ads, the browser will actually stall you. It will actually kind of say a little thing, experiencing slowdown in the videos or something down here, really helpfully, as it's kind of whirring away, not actually playing the video. So that's another issue that you can encounter. And yeah, this was terrible. 100th minute sucker punch from Liverpool. Oh, groan. I'm a Newcastle fan. Not much fun at the moment. So that's another issue that you can actually come across. So what I also want to do is actually come across into here. And this is the Gemini chat. And what I'll do, as well as posting links to the script and my wlr-which-key config, I'll post a link to the actual Gemini chat here. Be warned, there is some bad language involved, and me getting a bit stroppy with Gemini, but I just thought it'd also be interesting if you're inclined that way to actually have a look at the thought process it actually had to go through, and how many times I had to tell it the same thing over and over again to actually get this working. What did I tell you about this code? Do not use it, you must use cache. And I had to tell it that about 20 times. So I'll post a link to that as well, just so you can see the heartache I went through in actually getting this to work. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's a improved version of the dash-ffmpeg script that I wrote, that basically does the same thing. Uses ffmpeg to pipe the streams into MPV. But if I run dash-ffmpeg-h, the only option you have with this script is to give it the input here. And what you'll see is for instance, the cache is hard-coded in the script, as well as the screen it's actually going to play on, as well as the height. It just basically uses 1080p. It just looks for 1080p, so or lower. Whereas the new script, yt-dlp-mpv, will allow you to specify the input, the resolution, the cache, the full screen you want to display it on, as well as disabling the terminal output, because by default the dash-ffmpeg script doesn't show the player, the MPV time in the terminal because of the no terminal option. So two things I want to mention about this code is the MPV documentation is totally wrong. It says you can't use, it doesn't specify you can actually use an integra here like 2048 for the cache. And when you search the documentation for dash no terminal, nothing comes up. It actually says if I can find the option here. Yeah, look here. Dash terminal equals no. However, if you use that option, guess what's going to happen? It's going to say that option doesn't exist. Of course it doesn't. So I don't know what's going on there with MPV's documentation, but the dash terminal no option doesn't seem to exist. So that's why we're using the dash no dash terminal option. And it took me a hell of a long time to figure out the issue with that, but finally managed to resolve it. So I just thought I'd come up with something that was a bit more robust than the shell script, and had other options that you can specify rather than having them hard-coded in the script, as it were. So yeah, that's yt-dlp-mpv. And again, that's based on my dash-ffmpeg script to get around the error with yt-dlp and mpv, giving you an error saying fragment not found error, forbidden 403. So yeah, see if I can get it to trigger the error with mpv. It may not trigger it now after all that, but let me see. mpv may just decide to play, or it may error out. Yep, there you go. So that's what I'm talking about. That's the error I'm talking about. And this is even with the latest version of yt-dlp, which is 2025-08-22. You can see we're getting this 403 forbidden, and even if I do this with no config, so it's not using my config file, that should still give us the same error. Yeah, you see, so it's nothing in my config file that's actually causing the error. It's purely how MPV is interacting with yt-dlp in the back end to play the streams. So that's why we've got this. So again, yt-dlp-i, and let's see if we can set the resolution with this one. So a quick shifty at what the resolutions are available. So default 720, and we can go down to 360. Let's see if we can get it to play 360. So -r 360, and this should display 360 as it starts to kick in. I won't play the video again because you've seen it already. Give it a second or two. Okay, there you go. You can see 640, 360. Whereas if I don't use that option, what it's going to do is it's going to find the best version it can play and play that, which was the 720. Give it a second or two. Okay, now the other thing I wanted to mention is you can see here, the reason for having the terminal output is here is so that we can control MPV using the keyboard shortcuts, like space is going to pause it, forward, backwards, yeah, get the gist. When I press Q, it's actually going to quit the video cleanly with no hanging ffmpeg processes lingering about using up your RAM. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. As I say, I've been at this like literally all day, doing my nutting with ffmpeg with Gemini. And as I said, I'll post links to the Gemini chat if you want to have a laugh and see how many times I had to swear at it and insult it to actually get it to do what I wanted to do. But I just thought it'd be a nice twist to, as I said, use Gemini against Google and let's be evil. So I post links to all this under the video. And as I said, this should work on Linux, FreeBSD, Mac, and Windows. And one thing I said I'll need to check is if the Opus streams are working correctly, the WebM streams, see if that's actually working correctly. But yeah, I mean, I've tried to go through and test everything to see it's all working properly. And yeah, it's late at night, so I haven't had hours to check everything's working properly. So if you find any issues with the script, let me know. And that's all for now.